Welcome to Inside Personal Growth Podcast. Deep dive with us as we unlock the secrets to personal development, empowering you to thrive. Here, growth isn't just a goal, it's a journey. Tune in, transform, and take your life to the next level by listening to just one of our podcasts. Welcome back to Inside Personal Growth. This is Greg Voisin, the host of Inside Personal Growth. And joining me from Minneapolis, Minnesota is Liza Docken, and she's the National Educator for Pranarōm.com, which is an aromatherapy company. And many of my listeners know, Liza, that I spend at least a full day every year at the Natural Products West Expo, which is out here on the West Coast, which happens in March. And that's where I met Liza. And I always pick up on, about 5 companies. We're doing one coming up for a company that makes honey that is all natural, that comes in from New Zealand. We've picked up a couple of others that are making what I call organic products. And Liza's really seemed interesting to me. So Liza, I'm going to tell the listeners a tad bit about you and your background so that they will know more about it. Liza Docken, she's a certified aromatherapist and the National Educator for Pranarōm. She has been in the health and wellness industry for 25 years, working in the health food stores with clients as a yoga instructor and meditation guide. Her passion for natural world guides her to plant-based remedies with a focus on organic and sustainable practices. She brings a lot of enthusiasm. I've already spoken with her once before on a pre-interview, and joy and fun to the learning experience with is very inclusive and expansive approach. So for all of you who are interested, please go to Pranarōm, that's Pranarōm, the Science of Essential Oils, and that's pranarōm.us. That's where you can find out more about their products. You can buy their products from there, and so on. So why don't we kick it off, Liza, with, you're the educational director here for North America. This is an international-based company. It's not just here in North America. Give us a really brief history about the company, how it started, how you got involved in it, and why you believe that the products this company have, because there's so many people that make products that are essential oils and aromatherapy, is better than many of the others.
Yeah, thanks. I'll start with we're founded in Belgium, and our founder's name is Dominique Baudoux. He, both a pharmacist and an aromatherapist, wanted to start something where he could support people's health and wellness using that constituent model, though. So in pharmaceuticals, obviously, we're often isolating or extracting constituents from plant. We're using that for medicine. He wanted to approach it more holistically, taking all of the essential oil, all of those constituents, and using those as a way to support health and wellness. So it started in Belgium. It has expanded. That was in 1991. It has expanded throughout Europe and now also here in Canada, United States, Mexico, lots of places. And what I find so wonderful about what he was doing is that he wanted to make aromatherapy more accessible to everyone. He was so passionate about education when he was working. He's retired now, but his educational seminars were out of this world. And he really wanted to find ways to further his interest, I will say, in the scientific side of aromatherapy. He did that by building relationships with not only the farmers and growers, but also the distillers. So that allowed him conversations with them around things like, oh, well, what if we tried harvesting at a different time of day or distilling at a different temperature? And what that does is affects the constituents that show up in the essential oils. So it's a way to find a nice, happy medium without having to isolate, extract, synthesize, or do anything unnatural, if you will. And so having been in health food stores since the late 90s, I've worked with a lot of essential oils, and when I started working, this was probably 10, 15 years ago, I was working at a store, and that was when I first came across this brand. And I was blown away. I had never seen a brand that was 100% certified organic. I'd never seen essential oils that were based on constituents. And what I mean by that is choosing essential oils for their constituents and then blending based on those constituents rather than just on the aromatics. And I remember I was working at the display and I said to myself,
it's almost like a custom blending, isn't it? I mean, when you keep speaking constituents, I get that the products are up there, but that, there are places, and I know you don't custom blend, right? This isn't what we're talking about here. But in essence, when the people go to the website and they see the numbers of products that you have for the various things, I think they're just going to be blown away because it's truly amazing. And, one of the things I would like to address with you, and I want to make sure that we have time, and this was one of my questions. What are the most common misconceptions about essential oils that you kind of encounter as an educator? And how does Pranarōm address these through the education that you provide to both retailers, to the end user, in whatever capacity you're working?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions around aromatherapy and plant medicine in general is that it is all the same, meaning flower essences are the same as herbal tinctures, are the same as essential oils, and that couldn't be further from the truth, really. Essential oils are incredibly concentrated, and they need to be used safely, properly, most often in dilution, and definitely in the right delivery system, depending on how we're using those essential oils. There's a lot of misinformation in the market. There's not a lot of regulation around essential oils, the things that people are able to claim about their essential oils, and there isn't enough oversight on how people are educating in terms of what they're saying is safe use of essential oils. So unfortunately, a lot of brands offer education to promote sales more so than where I'm focusing is education for safety.
What are the differences between this therapeutic grade and aromatic grade essential oils, and why is the distinction so important for consumers out there? Because there's probably a lot of consumers that are really just not quite aware of the therapeutic grade.
Right.
So I think it's, educate us on that, Liza.
Will do. Essential oils, let's just talk about what those are briefly to help us understand why constituent-based aromatherapy is so important. Plants produce essential oils inside of their internal structures as a way, it's called a secondary metabolite, as a way to protect themselves. These essential oils act as antimicrobials, anti-pest. They work to ward off invasive species. There's all kinds of ways in which these essential oils work to promote the life of the plant. Those constituents are the therapeutic function of the essential oil. So every essential oil has a list of constituents that exist within it. And those are what you might call the active ingredients. And then we're using our blending techniques by choosing oils based on their constituents because it is the therapeutic function of the essential oil. So when we put a blend together, we're choosing oils based on those therapeutic ingredients and then using that blend for therapeutic purposes rather than a new aromatic experience, which is a beautiful way to blend. We do that with diffusion blends, choosing oils based on their aroma, putting them together to create a new aroma. That's a wonderful practice, but we're really focusing in that scientific, it's also called French medical aromatherapy, and that is different than any other brand you'll find in this market.
So, your company is very innovative, and what are the most innovative products or blends that Pranarōm has developed recently, and what makes those products so unique? Because when my listeners go to your website, they're going to see, I'm just going to call it a plethora in comparison to most essential oil places that you would go to, like, look for essential oils. And these are all around, many of them around wellness, right? In other words, it's a focus on how can these be used to improve my wellness. And there's all kinds of things that I'm not going to call that you treat, because maybe that's the wrong word, but there are things that these can be used for to create a huge difference in your life.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say one of the most innovative things that we offer are our prana caps. They come in, I have a box here. It's just these internal use essential oil capsules that are in a base of carrier oil in order to ensure safety. They're safely encapsulated. But what's so fascinating about this is that they're formulated scientifically with safety in mind, so that you can take essential oils internally in a way to support the respiratory health, your immunity health, your digestive health, your stress or sleep needs, or memory and focus. And
have there been any, and pardon me for asking, but I always get this with, especially when we go to alternative treatments, because we get so much of this from doctors. Is there been any NIH studies or things that have been published by the NIH around these essential oils and the use of those tablets? And if so, where might our listeners go to learn more about that? If they're looking kind of like, okay, we see your website, is there a resource guide for them to take a look at?
Yes, I would say that there are endless number of studies done on essential oils as individual oils and as blends. And those can be incredibly helpful when you're looking for something to really help treat something, which obviously we're not claiming here, but it is where we're headed, right? We want to think about symptomatic relief, but we also want to think about how can we prevent the situation where symptoms arise? How do we keep ourselves and our health and wellness in balance? That's really what aromatherapy does. And so whether that's through the olfactory system and emotions, or through the internal structures of the body by taking them internally, they can absolutely go online and search. I love PubMed and Google Scholar as outlets for, type in an essential oil or type in a few essential oils, and you'll easily find results on studies that have been done showing the effectiveness. Sometimes it gets into the specifics of those constituents within those essential oils too.
Well, again, your company has taken it to a whole new level versus somebody who just might go out to Amazon and look for essential oils to dump into an aromatherapy device that kind of spews it out into the room. You guys have gone just light years ahead of that. And so I want to talk about the purity of the essential oils and its impact on effectiveness. What standards does Pranarōm use to define and ensure kind of the purity of these products? Because, many of these are diluted. They're not 100% pure. When I say that, there are reports out there of this happening through these essential oil distributors, right? Because it's a huge business. It's a gigantic business. So how do you guys ensure the purity of all of this?
In a number of ways. So Pranarōm offers only certified organic essential oils. That is one of the only ways you can really ensure the quality of an essential oil. There aren't really any regulatory systems in place for labels like pure, natural, and so forth. So having a brand that is 100% certified organic obviously ensures that it is 100% natural. But on top of that, what we offer our customers at any time is a certificate of analysis, which means every single batch of all the oils that we get in, we have run through a number of tests so that we can ensure that those constituent levels are where we want them to be based on the studies that we understand in terms of how constituents can support our health. They can call anytime and ask for a certificate of analysis on an essential oil or on a number of essential oils if they're working with a blend. And so those are some of the most important ways, because when you have organic certification, what that means is that the plants are left to grow naturally, organically, right? And then that is why they produce the secondary metabolite that creates these wonderful antimicrobial, anti-pest, and so forth essential oils. If we were to spray them, we would be doing their work for them. So when you buy a product that is not certified organic, they have a less robust profile and aren't as intense in terms of what they can offer us in our house because we've sprayed them and they don't need to do the work. So Pranarōm only offers the organic essential oils, and we're never adding, diluting, synthesizing, or adulterating any of our essential oils.
So does Pranarōm grow most of these plants themselves, or are you outsourcing this, Liza, from other people who are growing it but are growing it organically with the certification, and then in your factories you're then creating the essential oils and packaging them? Would that be the correct assumption?
So we have a mix. We have a number of places, particularly Madagascar, where we have sole sourcing on a lot of the farms there. So all of those oils really come only to Pranarōm. That includes some oils that you won't even find other companies offering. But then we do have to work with other growers. So we work with a lot of collectives. Europe is a perfect example. There's a lot of growing collectives in Europe because that gives them a little bit more power in the market. But we do have to source from all over the world because we have oils that require a varying degree of growing environments. I often get asked if we grow everything in Minnesota, and our growing season's very short. So no, unfortunately, that would not be sustainable or responsible. But so some is sole sourcing, yes, and then some we're sourcing from other people who have gotten the certification already.
Well, look, there's probably a lot of listeners out there who have used aromatherapy and essential oils. And I find that it's one of those things that many people don't stay consistent with. You know, they'll start it, they'll stop it, they'll do those kind of things. With the surge in popularity of integrative medicine and functional medicine physicians, which we have many on the show, what are some of the favorite essential oil blends, and how do you personally incorporate these essential oils, kind of your, just Liza's mainstream wellness routines? Because I think people are looking for, okay, what am I going to do to do this? I know even myself, I started it. I had a little machine. You know, I used to let it pump out all the stuff in my room here, and I stopped it. And what I really want to do is start it again, but sustain it. And that is, I think, a lot of listeners out there. It's like, okay, so why should I sustain this? What's this doing for me? How do I make this part of my routine? And you as the educator could be the best person to help us with that.
Yeah, I would say that the easiest and most consistent method of aromatherapy use is through a diffuser like you're describing. Diffusers offer the ability to disperse atmospherically essential oils in the space where we are, giving us that aromatic experience. But what's happening is that when we breathe in, we're breathing in scent molecules through the olfactory system, which eventually end up in the limbic system of the brain, which is where the hippocampus and the hypothalamus and the amygdala are, which in fact control things like our emotions and memories and hormone balance. So,
well, and stress. I think the key is for many people, you know, it's like, okay, I go to yoga, I get the essential oils, I come back, I don't have essential oils running, but it is a great stress reliever, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's one of the best ways to change the environment, the atmosphere, the mood in a room. And you can do that to, like I said, uplift a mood, energize, but you can also do it to calm and relax. But then one of the things I love the most about diffusers, especially during cold and flu season, is that we have certain blends that work to purify the air. So whatever might be floating around, wherever you might be, if you're bringing things home, if you have lots of people at home, it's a really nice way to maintain health that way. But then what's wonderful about Pranarōm is that we offer a number of products that are pre-formulated. So if you want to do hair oil, if you want to do facial care, if you want to do a body oil, we have options for all of these uses and applications already formulated to make it that much easier for people who are wanting to go beyond the diffusion and really branch out. Because one of my favorite uses is skincare. I use essential oils on my face, my whole body, in the bath. I mean, I'm using them all day, every day.
You look like it. You look great. And I want to ask that question because, there are a lot of listeners out there that have dermatological conditions, everything from psoriasis to breakouts to whatever. Can you say that the essential oils could make a difference? I know we can't make any claims or impacts here, but I do know that dermatologists frequently will recommend creams, but they're not essential oils, right? They'll say, well, here's this cream or here's this one or that one. And the reason I say this, because look, I'm somebody who has pretty sensitive skin. I ride a bike a lot. I've had melanoma removed. I've had squamous cells and all kinds of other skin cancers, like 6 or 7 of them removed from my skin. And I know that I believe that this alternative therapy could make a huge difference in the tonality of my skin and how I feel, everything. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the products that we offer are what we call virgin plant oils, and other people call them carrier oils. These are the more fatty oils. These are the oils that we use to dilute our essential oils, but they have their own abilities as plant medicine as well. So when it comes to sensitive skin or easily irritated skin, borage and calendula and evening primrose, all of these oils work wonders in terms of really nourishing the skin, but doing so in a very delicate way so that the skin isn't more reddened and often is less reddened by using these oils. But also, hydrosols are a really important component to be aware of when it comes to aromatherapy. So when we distill for an essential oil, the co-product of distillation is hydrosol. It's water that moved through plant material as steam to extract the essential oils from the plant material. But the essential oils are hydrophobic, so they float to the top. And then we're left with this vat of botanical water that moves through plant material. It's got the water-soluble constituents, but it's not concentrated. And it offers wonderful therapeutics for the skin. So for someone who is regularly out in the sun, every time you get home from a bike ride, I would say, get your helichrysum hydrosol. I have some right here. And spray that on your face every time you get home. Use an oil on your skin before you head out, just
as a moisturizer, because it's carrying these properties with inside the steam that turns into water, which now has these byproducts in it, which ultimately are going to be a good moisturizer for your skin. Am I reading that right?
On its own, it's very refreshing and will add moisture to the skin. But then in order to maintain that moisture that you've just sprayed onto the skin, you're going to want to use one of the virgin plant oils to hold that moisture in. You don't have to use a lot. And there are definitely great options if you want, more of an oily finish, less of an oily finish. It just depends on what you're looking for. But all of these exist. So rosehip is a perfect example of a dry oil so that when you're applying it to the skin, it absorbs and dries really nicely without an oily finish. But that hydrosol piece is important because your skin needs water, not just the oil, but it needs to have that before the oil goes on so that it can get into the layers of the skin, and then that oil can go on top of it and hold it in place. But then the hydrosol helps draw the oil into the layers of the skin as well. So you have this really great balance for skin, because the skin is made up of oil and water. That's the protective barrier.
So look, you're in the educational side and you do a wonderful job. Thank you. This morning, you've spoken with my listeners and myself about ways to use it. What are some of the insights that Pranarōm research and development process does? And how do you decide which new products to really kind of develop?
We look at a number of factors. Of course, we're going to look at market trends to see what's happening for people, what are people looking for. But I would say that, again, one of the really wonderful pieces about a company like Pranarōm is that we can offer internal use of essential oils in a way that is safe and effective. Too many times I see people taking essential oils in ways that are not safe to be ingesting. Water is probably my least favorite delivery system for essential oils, and unfortunately seems to be one of the most popular. So it's important to understand why that's not a good delivery system, why a good delivery system is important, but being able to put
what is a good delivery system?
A fat. You want to put it into a carrier oil, and you want to encapsulate it, ideally, because you want it to get all the way in so that your body then distributes it as needed. When you're taking something like any of the topics that I mentioned earlier, digestive health, immune health, and so forth.
Do you have things for inflammation and arthritis that our customers might be interested in? Look, I know a lot of people today will, they'll get an inflammation and they'll use a CBD cream. Well, CBD cream is not the same as your aromatherapy or your essential oils, but are there particular essential oils that my listeners who are hearing this now could use for inflammation and or arthritic conditions?
We actually have a whole line of products. It's called our aromalgesic line, and these are all indicated for active people with stiffness, people with inflammation, people with aches and pains, to address those issues as best possible. So we have gel creams, we have sprays, we have roller balls that have an essential oil blend in them. Because in my opinion, yes, you can go at it with a single note, meaning one specific essential oil, but blends tend to do the best because essential oils are fascinating in that they have their own function, but when working together, they often then have this umbrella of a greater function on top of those individual functions. So that when you have a situation where you might want, say, some peppermint for its analgesic effects, but then perhaps also clove for its analgesic effects, you're then also thinking about, okay, well, now I want to incorporate things that are more specific to supporting the body's inflammatory response. So you're going to put something like lavender or helichrysum. And those four essential oils make up what we call just plain relief. And this is a very concentrated, very powerful, and effective roll-on that works great for, I've been in the garden too long. I get digital arthritis pain at the base of my thumb and my pointer. And that blend is probably the number one thing to help support that if you're talking about a blend in that way. So
very, very, very good way to approach it. And again, I'm going to tell my listeners that they want to go to pranarōm.us, and it's PRANAROM.us. That's where you'll want to go. Now, has your company collaborated with other organizations or researchers to advance the study or application of essential oils? And if so, can you share any notable outcomes or future plans that you might have? So in other words, this is an area which has been around for years and years and years and years, not as recognized as it has become today. It is certainly so much more at the forefront of people's, I'm going to call, overall lifestyle changes and health changes and wellness. And obviously everybody likes to know, well, what really are these doing? Or are they just kind of more, and in your case, we know they're not, but you can't really say it. They're not just benign. They just don't make the air smell good or make your skin smell good. Within the reasonable length, what can you tell us that might be going on with relation to research or advancements in studies?
Well, our work in that area is fairly grassroots. And what I mean by that is that, for example, the Madagascar example I gave earlier in terms of our sole sourcing, that's where we'll work with the community there. And we engage with them in ways, obviously we have to work with them because they're growing the plants and then they're distilling the plants. But how are their communities using that plant medicine, and how can we then learn from that as a way to support the health and wellness of people everywhere. So our collaborations really come at that level. And then we bring everything to the research and development, which is all happening in Belgium. And in those areas, yes, we're working a lot of times with pharmacists and biochemists in that way, because what we're trying to understand is more and more about how the constituents function, what they're doing in terms of supporting us, and then how we can then either formulate or at least educate more on those elements. So that is really, I think, one of the bedrock tenets of Pranarōm is learning as much as we can about essential oils, and then how we can make that most accessible to everyone else.
Well, and I want to let my listeners know that at your website, there is a tab there that says your needs. And if you do the pull down on the tab, it's going to come up with joints and muscles, baby maternity, circulatory system, digestive, immunity, well-being, memory, focus, outdoor defense, bites, respiratory concerns, oral health, skin care, hair care, sleep and relaxation. That's just to name a few. And again, I think for most people, they don't think of essential oils in this way. This is so unique, Liza. And I just want to thank you for sharing your education and knowledge as an aromatherapist. And with kind of a wrap-up question, what advice would you give our listeners who maybe are just now starting to explore the use of essential oils, and where might they kind of, I mean, I know you've got an education tab that people can pull down as well if you want to learn more on all these. Where might they go to learn more?
My number one favorite place is books. So books on aromatherapy are absolutely the best source of information. Our founder wrote a great one called Contemporary French Aromatherapy. But I think if we're going
to the healing intelligence of essential oils, do you write by Kurt? Is it Schnatzbelt, PhD?
Yeah, he's great.
Then you got another one by Kathy Keville, Keville, Aromatherapy, A Complete Guide to the Healing Kit. Those books are at the website, by the way, folks. Yeah. And I want them to know that, because you've actually listed 3 great resources. And I'm sure if you went to Amazon, you're going to find a million more. But the reality is, these are ones that you guys endorse, yeah?
We love them. Yep, we use them regularly. We reference them regularly. But I wanted to say that in terms of that grassroots idea, I really encourage people to let your knowledge of aromatherapy come from use. And so what I mean is, what is great about Pranarōm displays is that they all have testers. So find a store, if you can, nearby. There's a store locator on the website. Get to know essential oils by smelling them. And then once you've decided on 1, 2, or 3 to start with, take those home and get to know them. Let yourself get to know an oil vibes, putting a drop in the palms, rubbing the palms together, breathe that in. Notice where you feel it in your body. And that's really going to be one of the best ways to learn about aromatherapy and how it supports you and how it makes you feel. Just starting on that outer layer. And then you can then find books and other ways to dive in and get deeper with your experience and knowledge.
Well, and the cool thing is, when you go to the where you buy at your website, you can actually zoom in on the map and then zoom out. And I want my listeners to know, then it gives you the locations. I happen to reside in San Diego County, in North San Diego County, and just within the last 2 seconds, it shows me that it's at Jimbo's Naturally, that it's at Lazy Acres, that it's at these stores. So you can actually get these at many places. You certainly can't get the full array of all of the products. So if you really want to look deeper, because there just isn't enough shelf space for everything that they've got, you want to go to Pranarōm.com. And again, we'll have that in a link to our blog, as well as a link to a few of these pages as well. Liza, in wrapping up everything, is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with as far as how they might start using this, where they would go, and as far as your product is as far as your product is concerned, kind of the purity and organic nature of your product?
Well, I think when it comes to using essential oils, safety is the first step. So you always want to ensure that you're sourcing a high quality essential oil. Something that is certified organic is ideal. And then it's about, again, it has to be personal. So you got to find things that appeal to you and then start with a diffuser. Diffusers are really easy. You can get them at a whole range of prices, but a really great way to incorporate that into your everyday. And I would say that, when it comes to aromatherapy, remember that the plants made these oils for all of these various reasons, and that we get to use those oils for our own health in the same ways. So researching in that way can be a really great way to understand how essential oils and aromatherapy in general can support you.
Well, I want to thank you for being on Inside Personal Growth, taking a moment to talk about the wellness elements associated with essential oils and aromatherapy, and being such a great expert at it as well. I really appreciate that. And again, for my listeners, go to the website and look under the education, look for the books if you really want to dig deeper. Certainly, these are available at your local retailers for everybody who's listening across the United States. Certainly, you can check it out that way. Or you can just go to their website. Again, I'll repeat, Pranarōm, Pranarōm.us, to look for everything from diffusers to the tablets. It's all there. Thanks so much for being on Inside Personal Growth, Liza. It was a pleasure having you on and giving us some kind of education.
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this podcast on Inside Personal Growth. We appreciate your support. And for more information about new podcasts, please go to InsidePersonalGrowth.com or any of your favorite channels to listen to our podcast. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.